Hello and welcome to another Blender Cookie tutorial. I'm David Ward, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do some animation. We're going to go through just some basic animation, and then I'll show you how to do a walk cycle and put them together using the NLA editor. That's a nonlinear animation editor. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go switch to the animation window right there. And you can see it brings up your dope sheet here and your F-curve editor here, which I think we discussed this in the action constraints tutorial. That's the same basic setup. I want to make a new action. If you click here, you can see the hand curl and the smile frown that we made before. But I don't want to use those right now. I'm going to make a new one, and we're going to call it I don't know. We'll call it, I don't know, standing around. Anyways, silly name, but hey, it gets the point across anyways. So, let's go ahead and turn on the automatic keyframe insertion. And I would like for all of these bones here to keep their current pose as they are. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of them, and I'm going to hit I, and location, rotation, scale, and it automatically puts the keyframes over here. And the same thing for the feet. I don't think I'm going to be actually moving them, but I like to give everything that might possibly be moved its own keyframe, so I don't have to worry about problems later on with it moving in a strange way. Anyways. Okay, so what I want to have him do is he's just kind of standing here, maybe kind of shift back and forth and reach up and scratch his cheek or something. So, okay. Now, in Blender, there's 30 frames of video for every second of time. So, like if you play it, say 1 Mississippi, and hit the 30 mark there. So there's 30 frames in 1 second. So you can kind of use that to kind of scale how fast he'll move in the time lapse between different poses. Anyways, I'll go ahead and turn off the grid floor. I guess that's in the properties. Just hit N and display grid floor. There we go. Okay, back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. I'll go ahead and move forward a whole full second. Actually, I need to put a keyframe on his hip too, because that's going to move. And everything up here. Probably these guys. Okay, go ahead and insert some keyframes there. Okay, now we'll go up to 30 seconds. And just kind of move it around just a little bit. Let's go ahead and grab those hands also. Move them around. And grab his head and just kind of have him where he's just kind of looking around. See? Looks like I didn't put a keyframe for this hand. Or I did. So not there. Okay. I didn't put one at the very beginning. So let's go ahead and copy this guy and paste the opposite. And now we will insert. I guess it automatically inserted one when I pasted opposite. So now you can see he's going to move and everything. Okay. And let's go ahead and move this up just a little bit. You can kind of play with different setting or different movements as you work. So if you notice when you look at somebody moving, they pretty much move everything. You don't really see anybody standing stock still, not moving anything at all. So just bit by bit. Maybe he's turning his head now. Look over here. And a little bit more, 15 frames up. It's going to start to reach up. And then a few more frames. Go ahead and reach all the way up. Rotate this around. Let's go and grab that finger, have him go and put a keyframe right there. Start scaling him up just a little bit. Okay, and then a couple more frames, or about 10 more frames, and his hand's going to come all the way up to the side of his face, and his finger's going to be bent up. Different view, scale up. Those action constraints are handy because you can use those to, you know, like we said, control the different actions as you're making a new action. So it's kind of nice how those can work together like that. Okay. So now, zoom in on the timeline a little bit. Let's go, we're at 90, go up to 105. Bend his hand slightly. And just start, make that finger smaller, but bent up there. So you kind of see he's kind of scratching a little bit. You can play with it until it gets a little bit more realistic there. Anyway, so just a couple more. Okay, and now his hand is going to start to come away. Pause in the air for a second or two. And then back down to his side. Go ahead and copy this one again. And let's go ahead and zoom out here just by scrolling my mouse wheel, by the way. Where's this finger at here? Is it, let's turn on the property so I can see what I'm. Fing index C.L. So it's this one here. Okay, go ahead and grab that first keyframe. Shift D duplicates it, and then just drag it over. So there's not a big long period of it slowly starting to uncurl. So I'll just put that there. So it's like it's the exact same pose all the way up till right here, and then it starts to come out and scratch. Okay, and I'm going to also duplicate that for down here. Actually, let's move it a little bit further. It can be a little bit slower. And his hand down to his side is a little bit too fast. Let's move that over. Okay. Let's look at the camera view. Go ahead and hit the jump to the first frame and go ahead and hit play. So you can kind of see him look around a little bit. And then see how unnatural it looks when the rest of his whole body stops moving and the only thing moving is his hand. So let's go ahead and add some secondary motion to the rest of his body after that very first second. 2 seconds. There we go. Let's go into the right side view. Control 3 on your numpad. Just kind of move that a little bit. And just kind of move it around, you know, randomly. Gives the illusion of kind of just hanging there. Oops. Watch that. Gizmo thing. And if you notice when you look at someone's eyes, they don't really move slowly. They kind of dart, like a bird maybe. So like from frame 30 up to frame 50, that's almost a full second. Unless you're watching something that's moving, your eyes aren't going to move that slow. So we can do like we did on the finger and grab that look at and just duplicate that keyframe and move it down to where the eye moves a lot faster. See how much better that looked. And we can also do that for the very first frame because it's not going to take a full second for that to go over. There we go. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, and as he's sitting there scratching his cheek, he can kind of be looking around a little bit also. So sometimes instead of duplicating keyframes, you can just kind of just grab it and just move it just a little bit, just enough to give it an automatic keyframe. And you can move up a few frames and go ahead and move it a little bit. Move it quite a ways. Slight movement. And then we'll dart down something. Okay. So now if you watch it, it looks okay, except his whole body stops moving as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Secondary motion on the rest of his body. You can rotate it or just move it a little bit. Anything helps. Let's go ahead and maybe tilt his head a little bit, like he's leaning into the scratch. Oops. It didn't put a keyframe on there. There we go. Oh, it looks like his finger's going through his head right there. So let's get in here close, grab that, and there's his finger here, right? Okay. Let's move these keyframes over some. Maybe it'll clear his face before he starts. Nope. So I guess we'll have to have his hand a little further away from his face. That's right there. So let's have his hand come out and tilt back a little bit. Oops. Oh, it's right here. I was looking at the wrong one. Okay, so let's get rid of that keyframe. Okay, let's get rid of that keyframe. And if we would have done anything else, it would have popped into the pose that it would have been between these two keyframes. But since I didn't move the cursor at all, I was still able to kind of just manipulate that particular pose, if that makes any sense. Okay. So there we go. Kind of. So it still kind of goes through his face right there. So let's do the same thing. Let's delete this keyframe and just move it just slightly, rotate it just slightly back. There we go. And his head can move right after his hand's gone. So like when his eyes move right there, starts right there. Let's go ahead and insert a keyframe. Let's go ahead and rotate his head. And at the end, frame 180, we can move some other stuff around too. Okay. So let's see what it looks like now. Let's deselect everything. Play. It's kind of just standing there looking around. Reaches up, scratches his cheek, looks around a little bit. Okay. It's not the best animation in the world, but it'll give you an idea of just doing some subtle movements to just stand there. You know, when somebody's standing. I once read an article from an animator at Pixar, and he said sometimes he'll go to the post or the DMV, you know, the tag office or whatever, and he'll just watch people stand in line, and he'll take mental notes on kind of how they stand and what they do when they're just standing there doing nothing. So, anyways, just, you know, keep your eye out whenever you're just walking around at the store or something like that. Just kind of pay attention to how people stand when they're not doing anything, and you know, it can make your animations look that much more realistic. So, okay, so we got the standing around pose done. Now we're gonna clear it out of the animation buffer here, and the only, I guess everything here is a good starting. It's not starting really, but a good pose to start off with for our walk cycle. So I'll just grab all the important parts and go ahead and give them keyframes. Okay, right, 2 feet, the hips, the chest, the head, and 2 hands. I think that should probably be fine for our walk cycle here. Okay, so let's get started on the walk cycle. Go ahead and rename this action, walk. Okay, and we're going to start off in the middle of a stride already. Got his left foot here, and it's going to come up as he's putting it forward. Actually, let's go ahead and have it, I'm kind of stretching out. I'm going to have to bring the hips down here in just a second, but his heel's touching down, and let's make his toes kind of floppy. So they're kind of flopping up as his foot's coming down. Go ahead and bring his hips. There we go. Okay, make sure you grab the right bone. Let's move this foot back, and this, oops. One thing that I forgot to do when I was rigging this guy is some of these bones don't need to deform the mesh, so we just tell it not to deform. So, easy way to do that. Let's pop back into the default mode real quick and grab that heel bone and go to the bone settings and uncheck the deform. And you can see that it popped right off of there. So let's do the same thing on this heel. And we should be good to go. Back to animation now. Okay. So this foot's going to be coming up on the tips of the toes. So go ahead and pin those down. So he's springing forward. Right there. He's not even on his foot anymore. He's on the tips of his toes. And there we go. Okay, now we will start the arm swing. And since his left foot is forward, that means his left arm will be back. Like so. Let's make it where he kind of swings his arms around him as he's walking. Oops. And this arm will come forward then. Maybe some floppy hands too. So they're kind of just flopping up. Okay, now his head is going to be coming down as his body's coming down. We'll have his head tilting forward. Okay, that's pretty good for the first frame. Let's go over here in our keyframe editor and all the way back to the first frame. So I'm going to go in increments of 10 frames. Actually, let's go increments of 5 frames. Let's zoom in here. And let's go up to frame 5. And now we will do the second part of the walk cycle. This foot's going to go ahead and slap down. And the toes will slap down also. And it'll start coming back. So this foot's going to come up off of the ground. I'll go ahead and bring it up here and just go ahead and rotate the foot part back down and start just working with the heel. That's weird. Huh. Looks like that heel is rotating strangely. Let's go into the edit mode and make sure it's got the same rotation as the other, and it does not. So let's pop back to default view. You find a lot of problems with your structure when you go to start animating. So let's turn on X-axis mirror and Control R, and it should fix the roll of that heel bone. Okay, so back into there we go. Okay, back to animation. Okay, so let's just clear out the rotation of the foot bone, and I'll pop it right back where it needs to go. Swing this guy back. So it just pushed off with his toes. Let's bring the hips up. He's coming up on above his leg is pushing him up. So so. I'm going to see how that looks so far. Toes are going through the ground there, so we might need to bring it up a little higher. Let's go on the front view. Let's tilt his hips to where this foot can come up higher. Oh, it's really over to the side, isn't it? First frame. Wow. Let's clear its location. There we go. I guess since the rotation of the bone was messed up, when I drug it along its axis, it didn't put it in the right spot because the coordinates are wrong. There we go. See if I can turn on that. User preferences. Continuous grab. I'm going to turn that off. Okay. It's frustrating for that to keep grabbing that gimbal. Anyways. Okay, so that's going to work for now. Let's go back and let's go ahead and start with the hands. So everything's pretty well lined up on the side. So we'll bring his hands around his body. And then to the side. Bring this up here. And he's pulling this one back. So it's going to kind of flop forward with the momentum. And then this one he's pulling forward, so it's going to kind of flop backwards. Momentum. So there you go. And last but not least, let's start tilting the head. It's a little heavy, so it's going to go a little slower up like that. Okay. Okay, next step. Go up to frame 10. And this guy is going to start coming back now. Oops, wrong bone. There we go. And it's going to start rotating up on its toe. So pop back to frame 5 real quick. Go ahead and give that a keyframe right there. So it has something to go with from frame 5 rather than frame 0, if that makes sense. So if you didn't put that keyframe in there, it would start rotating at frame 0 up till 10. And we don't want that. We just want it to start at 5. So start coming up on his toes, the balls of his feet, and his body's going to start coming down a little bit more, a little bit further back. And this guy's going to come forward, start bending up. Toes are going to start coming forward. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Come down some. His head's going to start coming back. And his left hand is still coming forward. Start to flop forward a little bit more, slowing down. The right hand still coming back. Same deal. Okay. See how that looks. Not bad. Okay, next set, frame 15. You know, frame 15, I think, can be the start, almost, of the repeat. So let's try that. Go back to frame 0, and let's grab all the bones that have moved. Oops. There we go. Is that it? I think so. And go ahead and locate location rotation scale, put a keyframe in there. And now actually back up to frame 1 and go ahead and copy that and then go up to 15 and paste the opposite. So now it pasted the opposite pose. So now he's mirrored. So now he's like completed a full step. So you can see, boom. And nice power walk going on. There we go. Okay, we can keep doing the same thing with the others. Frame 5. Go ahead and insert keyframes for everything. Actually, I guess we need to do the toes as well, don't we? Okay, keyframe for everything. And copy. Go up to frame 20 and paste the opposite. Boom, boom. And frame 10. Copy. Frame 25. Paste the opposite. I believe frame 15 starts it all over again. Or we won't copy 15 because that would be like copying the opposite and then pasting the opposite. So it's like math, 2 negatives make a positive. So we'll just copy frame 0 or frame 1, go up to frame 30 and paste it. Don't paste the opposite, just paste it normal. And that will complete the loop. So you see right now, if you the end frame down here is 250. If you just make that 30, because we just got 30 frames of action, and you hit play, it'll loop it, and you can see kind of what he's going to look like in his walk. Kind of neat. Nice little sort of a floppy toes and hands and stuff. Kind of neat looking. Okay. So that's how you do a walk cycle. But like I promised before, let's go ahead and put this back up to 250. I'll show you how to use the nonlinear action editor. So let's go ahead and leave the walk cycle up. We don't need to clear it out. Let's go ahead and grab this, slide it over, and go to the NLA editor. And the reason I left that walk cycle up is that's the only way to get tracks in this NLA editor. It's a little different than it was in previous versions, so you have to use tracks to insert the action strips. So the way you do that is you got this since you have the action in the action window prior to where we just got here from, that's the only way you can put tracks. Anyway, said all that to say this. So just click on a little, I guess it's like a little snowflake or something, and it'll put a track in there. And let's bring this out and hit N. It'll bring up the properties window. And it's getting all kind of scrunched up here, so let's push Control and then up on your keyboard, and it'll maximize that to the window. So we've got this walk cycle right here, but we want it to repeat more than once. So, and also, minimize it again. Let's go ahead and clear out this properties window. That'll give us more room. There we go. Frame 1 is the exact same as frame 30. So since this is playing frame 1 through frame 30, that's basically meaning it's going to play the same frame twice in a row. So you're going to kind of get a little bit of a stutter if you just repeat it. And the way you repeat it is just click on it, and then it's going to be up here, repeat. Just drag that out. You see a little white line and divider there. That's nice. It wasn't in previous versions, but that's like every time it loops, it divides it with that white line. So you can see it's repeated 5 times. So you'll see, the 4 lines that divide it into 5. So, anyways, like I said, if you keep it 1 through 30, as it says right here, you'll see a little bit of a stutter when the timeline hits that 30 and then goes back to 1, and they're the same frame, so it's playing 2 of the same one twice. So go ahead and play it. That's kind of hard to see here. Maybe the new version kind of eliminates that, but I always like to break the end frame down by 1 frame. So we'll put that frame 1 through 29. So basically when it hits frame 30, it's like a clock. Your clock never gets, there's 60 minutes an hour, but the clock never gets to 60. It always starts back at 0. So anyways, so now should be a little bit more seamless. walk there. So that's nice. But say we want to throw in that pose where he was standing in before. The way you do that is a piece of cake. Just go right here and go add an action strip, and standing around. Put that in there. So now they're both in there. So you can see that, and then boom, standing around. So let's say we want him to stand around first and then go into the walk. So let's grab this. You grab it with the right mouse button, and just the same as you do on moving vertices or something. Just hit G. Let's grab that. It's a button up against there. Won't let me move it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and delete it and just drag this, and we'll move the times cursor there, and then we'll add the action strip standing around. There we go. So, and this new version has another feature, and it can blend two action strips together. So that's add transition, and it makes a little transition between the two. So there you go. So you can. Looks like I need to clear out the roll of that foot because it's not going down, and I know it's not in that action. So let's do that real quick. Let's go back to the action editor, the dope sheet, and open standing around. And let's Alt-R, clear out its rotation. Same on the toes. Alt-R clears them out. Oops. Close quarters here started rotating too. Grab those, Alt-R, clears them out. Okay, so now, standing there flat-footed. Good. So now let's go back to the NL8 editor. Oops. Right there. And you can see, since I have that other action started now, it has that in this window here, but we can go ahead and, oops. Not what I thought. Go back to the action editor. Where are we at? Dope sheet. And let's pop back to the walk. Now we'll go back to the NL editor. And there we go. Well, there we go. You just hit the snowflake again, I guess. And it clears it out. Then you can just select that one and hit delete. And then clear it out. Okay. So now he's standing there, and then it fades to his walk cycle. So just hit play. Standing there looking around. And then he starts walking. So, pretty neat. That's how you do actions and walk cycles and such. So hopefully I wasn't too drab with my mumblings incoherently. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. If you got any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.